There's something about these India-New Zealand matches, isn't there? Because India-New Zealand playing, of course, after the rather one-sided one-day series, playing the first T20I today, and the Indian men losing out by 21 runs to the New Zealand men. Why I say men is, of course, because we also need to give a shout-out to the under-19 women who beat New Zealand today in the ICC Under-19 World Cup, Women's World Cup semi-finals quite convincingly. So a quick shout-out to them before we get to our guest, Wasim Jaffer, former India cricketer. Wasim, fair to say that New Zealand have outplayed India in all three departments, and more specifically, I would like to come to you with this question: that did India perhaps just read the conditions a little bit wrong today?
You can say that in the hindsight. Probably India would have thought that batting conditions might get easier in the second half with the dew around, but there wasn't much dew. And the ball spun so much, they probably wouldn't have expected that. India probably would have used two more overs of Deepak Huda, the kind of spin that the other spinners were getting, even Kuldeep Yadav bowled really, really well. Washington Sundar. I mean, all the spinners from both the teams bowled so well. So India could have spun, used the spin a little bit more. Fast bowlers are far too expensive. But I thought overall, New Zealand did outplay India in every department.
Yeah, of course, we'll analyze the Indian performance in greater detail, but let's first give credit where it's due to the New Zealanders. In many respects, Wasim also started well with the bat because their batters showed a lot of maturity. They kept losing wickets, but if you notice that the scoring rate never really dipped, and right at the end, that big over of Arshdeep Singh that just completely tilted the game in their favor on this pitch.
Yeah, they did get a good start as well. Devon Conway and Finn Allen gave them a swashbuckling start before Washington Sundar came out and put a break on the scoring. I thought, like I said, spinners bowled really really well. They brought the game back. But that last over, probably India would have been happier going in with 160 something to chase. Even though India would have lost the way they batted, but psychologically when you get team under 160 or maybe around 160 to getting to 180. So that over probably cost us quite a bit. India would have been disappointed. Arshdeep would have been disappointed. But full credit to Daryl Mitchell, the way he struck the ball and the way that last over turned out to be, and then the way how probably Mitchell Santner also, how he bowled so well and how he captained the side using his resources so well. So I thought Mitchell Santner was absolutely spot on today.
And of course, New Zealand don't have the services of Kane Williamson, but upstepped, as he often does, Devon Conway. Outstanding innings yet again from him. Fair to call him perhaps one of the best all-format batters that New Zealand have at this point of time. And at the same time, just adding a little question about some worry about the likes of Finn Allen and perhaps Glenn Phillips, because these are impact batters, we know that. But repeatedly on this tour, they seem to get starts, but just seem to throw it away. So is that a slightly recurrent worrying theme from the New Zealand perspective?
It is. I mean, they're ultra aggressive players, Finn Allen and Glenn Phillips. They like to, take on a lot more risks compared to Devon Conway, who's more measured. He plays spin really, really well. He's got a lot more options compared to those two guys. Don't forget Glenn Phillips have played some magnificent knocks. Finn Allen still need to prove himself, but again, he's hits the ball really, really well. But Devon Conway is in his league of his own. Like you said, probably one of the best all three format player at the moment, and scoring runs for fun in all three formats. And like I said, plays spin really well. So even after power play, he does find boundaries every now and then obviously he can clear the ropes as well. So I thought that 50 odd from him, gave the structure to the innings, and then again Daryl Mitchell probably finished it in such a nice way.
And Wasim, chasing 177, you could say that perhaps losing a well-set Surya Kumar Yadav and then Hardik Pandya inside 5 balls may have been a death blow. But to be very honest, when you're 15 for 3, and with the team that India went in with in this match, just a quick discussion on that, because I know you're a proponent of a lot of bowling options, but did India perhaps have one too many? Because they had literally 7 bowling options, but their batting seemed to sort of tail off after 6.
Well, I in the preview I said I picked up exactly the same team, but again, Umran Malik just bowled 1 over. Even Shivam Mavi didn't bowl before the 14th over. So when those two bowlers only bowl 3 overs, then you kind of question that whether you should have better off playing one batter extra. And the ball was spinning as well. Like I said, so you could have used Deepak Huda. But saying that, I thought, that was a team probably you would pick more often than not. But again, you got to give to New Zealand how they did really, really well.
Right, let's look ahead to the second T20I, which is, of course, in Lucknow. Now, two things we know in international cricket. One is that New Zealand always gives India a bit of a scare. In fact, more often than not, pretty much competes on an even keel, if not beating them. And the second thing, of course, is that India are very good at coming back in bilateral. So, are we going to see that again from this young Indian team? It's easy to forget how young this team is because if you even look at the reserves, there's not a lot of experience to fall back upon, is there, Wasim?
They're short of international experience, you can say that, but they have got a lot of experience of playing T20 cricket, playing IPL cricket. And probably from your last question, when you're 15 for 3 in the power play, Surya Kumar Yadav playing the sixth over, a maiden over from Mitchell Santner, which is very unlike we have seen something like that. And then the last hope was probably Hardik Pandya and Surya Kumar Yadav. And then two dismissals within 2 overs completely shut the shop for India. But India would be happy that Washington Sundar got runs. He looks like a really good prospect for the future, especially in white ball format. So India would have been happy to see Washington Sundar do well. But again, saying that India would be coming back strongly. There's no doubt about it. It's kind of a one-off game, and you expect this Indian team to bounce back strongly in the next game.
Any changes you would see happening then? Perhaps a look in for somebody like a Prithvi Shaw or maybe even a Jitesh Sharma?
Probably. I mean, Umran Malik, I've said this all along. This format, unless he doesn't have variations, even today when he came into bowl, he should have thought that, the cutters were probably better option bowling. But then again, he doesn't bowl that. He likes to bowl quick. And when somebody bowling at 145 on these kind of pitches, you like to face that kind of stuff because the ball goes off the bat so quickly. Uh, so probably in place of him, maybe Jitesh Sharma or even Prithvi Shaw, you don't know. Probably Jitesh Sharma is better option because you need somebody to bat lower down the order. So probably that and use Shivam Mavi and even Deepak Huda. You've got a lot of options as a bowler. So probably use them because obviously the pitch will be different in the next game. It won't be spinning this much. But I feel, probably one batter more would solve the purpose.
Yeah, one final question from an Indian perspective, perhaps looking at the fact that this is a slightly inexperienced lineup, maybe the right course of action in this situation could be to bat first because then your batters go in without the pressure of chasing a target.
I think so. I think India probably gone into this game thinking that we're playing in the winter season. Some dew might come in, but it did happen. And then again, you don't expect the pitch to turn this much in the second half. You expect the batting to become a little easier, which didn't happen. So probably if the conditions are pretty much similar, then India would look to probably bat first. And Hardik Pandya sometimes like that. So you can expect Hardik Pandya to bat first if he wins the toss again.
And from New Zealand's perspective, a massive opportunity here to pick up a series win against India. Pretty much do more of the same. Any improvements that you would want from them? Perhaps more runs from the top order, as we've discussed.
I think so. I think the guys who have got start, like you've said, Finn Allen, Glenn Phillips, even Mark Chapman, those guys, even for Michael Bracewell, a lot of people will be watching him. I thought he bowled really, really well. But, few runs down the order, will have a lot of franchise looming for him. So I don't expect much change from them, but a better batting performance probably.
Yes, we look forward to what happens in that second T20I. Thanks so much for your company, as always, Wasim. You were watching ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout.